Hello students. Uh, as demand chapter and supply chapter, these two chapters are already done with you. Today I would start with a new chapter which is price mechanism. Firstly, what is price mechanism? Price mechanism or market mechanism is such a chapter, is such a mechanism or process in which the market price of a commodity is determined by the interaction of the market force of demand and supply. That means the price at which quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, that price is considered to be equilibrium price. And actually, that price is maintained, is kept at the price of the commodity. Now, we know it very well, at least now, that demand curve is downward sloping, supply curve is upward sloping. Demand curve is downward sloping. As price rises, demand falls, price falls, demand rises. In case of supply, supply curve is upward sloping. As price rises, supply rises, and vice versa. So let me focus into the graph which illustrates this process of price mechanism. In this graph, I hope you can see the graph. Along the x-axis, we are measuring quantity demanded as well as quantity supplied. So I've written quantity. Along the y-axis, we are measuring price. Demand curve downward sloping, DD. Supply curve upward sloping, SS. This is the point E. I've marked it E, at which the two curves are cutting each other, intersecting each other. Now, when two curves cut each other in a graph, they are equal. So here, the two curves are cutting each other at the point E. Then that is the equilibrium point at which demand is equal to supply. And this price OP0, this is the equilibrium price OP0. Because at this price, demand is equal to supply. So this will be the price which will be the price kept for the commodity. And equilibrium quantity is OQ0. OQ0. O is origin. So this is the basic thing of the diagram, of the process. Now I come to a little more details. Let me consider a price OP1 which is above the equilibrium price. A price which is above the equilibrium price. Here we notice at this price which is above the equilibrium price, at this price quantity demanded is this much. I hope you can see P1A, this is the quantity demanded. And quantity supplied is P1B. It's very easily revealed here in the diagram that quantity demanded is less, quantity supplied is more. Quantity supplied is more than quantity demanded. By how much? By this portion AB. And this is known as excess supply. It's known as excess supply. And when there is excess supply, price gets reduced. Price gets reduced. Okay? Because the sellers or the producers would find that less number of people are coming to buy the commodity. Demand is very less. So let's reduce the price so that if something more can be sold. Now, this is one aspect in the price mechanism process. Let me consider the opposite here. If I consider a price which is below the equilibrium price, OP2, something below the equilibrium price, OP2. At this price OP2, we find quantity demanded is this much, P2T, this point is T. And quantity supplied is P2R, this point is R. Now we find opposite thing to the previous one. At this price OP2, quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. By how much? By RT, this amount. And this is excess demand. If there is excess demand, then the price would rise. Because too many people are demanding, suppliers or producers are unable to supply that much quantity, so price would rise. Okay. So you have to remember this. It's very important to remember. If there is excess supply, price would fall. If there is excess demand, price would rise. Now, this is the basic thing about this chapter. The basic thing about this chapter. If you know this basic thing, and if you know demand chapter, if you know supply chapter, the whereabouts, the details of those two, then some analytical questions are asked in this chapter which you have to answer. I'll guide you, I'll make some illustrations, and you can solve those graphical questions if I guide you with the help of this basic thing and also demand chapter and supply chapter knowledge. Okay, I'll do that. First, you see if you can understand this thing.